Hello everyone, this is James with games.on.net, and we're here playing Battlefield Hardline. This mode that we're playing is known as Hotwire, and this map downtown is a fairly popular map in the rotation across most of the beta servers at the moment. So Hotwire is a mode. You spawn to the map. There are a number of cars uh, strewn around the map that need to be captured by either side. Once you capture a car, hopefully a squad mate jumps in with you who acts as your gunner. And yes, you drive around aimlessly, dodging the other cars and the other players who are trying to take you down and blow you up. The longer you stay in the car, the more points you get. The more points you get, obviously, the higher up the leaderboards you go, and you win the round. As a mode, Hotwire is fairly interesting. It's a little bit messy, but it's also sort of a little bit fast and furious. The cars are fun to control, and actually control a hell of a lot better than they did in the alpha. To their credit, the frame rate's also much improved. The game's not as juddery and jittery as it was, so it makes the experience a hell of a lot more immersive and fun. At the same time, I don't really feel like this map really is an improvement on top of Heist, which is the other major game mode in Hardline, in that the cops don't really seem to have much of a point. They capture the cars in the same way the criminals do, and the criminals are trying to take down their cars, and you're trying to take down the criminals' cars. But because you're all basically driving in circles, it's not really much of a sustained car chase. If you do get behind a criminal, it is kind of fun. You're chasing them down the roads, but because the roads are so tight and the map is so small, the sense of a full Muckle Bay style car chase tends to flitter out fairly quickly after your driver hits a power pole or the side of a wall, and you take a stray shot in the face, or you, as you can see here, hit the exit of the combat area, which isn't really defined very well. It's just usually a few metal guardrails that are fairly easily pushed through. Um, on top of that, when you get down to it, Hardline is an interesting game in that it has a theme, of cops and robbers or cops and criminals or SWAT and criminals, however you want to put it. And EA have chosen to take the fairly easy route and essentially just skin over some patrol cruisers and some fancy SWAT uniforms and a few muscle cars and made that into a separate game mode. That might sound like I sound a little bit unfair in sort of judging a game before it's released. And to be honest, I don't really think the game is going to change all that much between now and release in terms of its multiplayer. The multiplayer is a lot more fluid than and polished. Sorry, is a better word to put. Polished than it was in the alpha, but when it comes down to multiplayer, what you see is what you get. And look, I think what is really disappointing for me is that when EA and DICE brought out Battlefield 2142, which wasn't a spectacular game, and to be honest, it probably wasn't a hell of a lot better than Battlefield 2, but it had the Titan mode, which was a fantastic game mode, and it was actually a different experience to the standard Battlefield fare, and it forced players to work together. The maps were wide, and climbing into this Titan and controlling it with the players was really cool. Whereas Hardline doesn't really give me that same impression. It feels a lot like Battlefield 3 in that the maps are fairly tight and small, except that they've sort of combined vehicles with them instead of making them infantry heavy, which makes everything feel a little more claustrophobic. If you're not in a car, you're either going to get run over or run and gunned fairly easily. So the learning curve is quite high, but I'm not feeling like the game mode is very different in that it's a full release. If this was an add-on to Battlefield 4, I'd probably feel a lot less aggrieved about that, but because the game is still attempting to be something new and exciting and amazing, I I was kind of hoping that EA would um, change the formula a little bit. You know, the battlefield doesn't necessarily have to be a military battlefield, and just changing the UI so it says police instead of China or the USA is not essentially making something brand new. You're just skinning it and making an attempt to change the multiplayer. So instead of just you know pulling out an assault rifle and blasting away at another car or another or a crim, there are ways to take them down or capture them. Nets or beanbag guns, so beanbag shotguns and tasers. All the arsenal that actual police carry on a regular basis. Why can't they make a way that you can corner someone and give the option to stun or provide a ways of arresting them, which basically counts as a inverted commas kill. Um, doesn't diminish the game or its challenge. It actually increases it, and it also gives players a new mechanic to try and excel at. I'm finding that when I play either one of any of the game modes, in fact, the game mode of Conquest is still in this game, which just absolutely baffles me because there's no reason for a Conquest mode um, in a game in a themed situation where cops are going up against suspects committing I'm assuming bank robberies. Why would you have a Conquest mode? Why would you need to hold certain areas as a crim? um, why wouldn't you be always constantly attempting to get away rather than to forcefully attempting to engage the police? So which again brings me back to heist, which seems to be the only mode that actually attempts in some way to meet the theme and be um, trying to work with the game rather than against it. There are different objectives. The police are attempting to stop the criminals getting away with the money. They have to access the vault. They have to protect the vault while it's being opened. They have to cover each other's backs while they take the money and run away with it. As each stage progresses, so does the areas of the battlefield that need to be accessed and held or assaulted. So while you are still running around, everyone's running around with assault rifles and firing at each other to kill. At the very least, there seems to be some aspect of something that may occur in actual reality. But we're not. I'm not trying to say that the game needs to be real or needs to be some kind of SWAT simulator. But I was hoping, and I'm still hoping, especially for the single player, that the game attempts to sort of provide some kind of police experience or some kind of criminal experience. Because let's face it, criminals don't go out there committing crimes to essentially just kill police. Killing police in the real world brings a horrific sense of retribution. So if you're robbing a bank, your idea is to get in and get out. Wouldn't a better multiplayer mode be something along the theme of Payday, where you actually are trying to strategically um, uh, access the bank without having the police come down on you, where the police need to carefully enter the situation, avoid killing hostages or something along those lines. But I guess in the end, we sort of do come back to the word battlefield, and I think for a lot of people, if the game wasn't a lot like Battlefield 3 or 4, the the general populace probably wouldn't be too happy with what was on display. But look, I had hoped that when we got to the beta, there may have been some changes, maybe some features added uh, to expand the challenge and expand the experience, and try and bring it closer back to the title and the idea behind a cop based first-person shooter. Because look, there aren't many of them, and I would have liked to have seen DICE and EA get a little bit creative with how they engage the multiplayer side of a real life engagement, because it is a difficult premise and a lot of games don't do it very well. and the ones that have tried, sorry, haven't done very well. So, and the ones that have done it before usually have done it only in a single player context, and I'm again referring to SWAT. So, in the end, the multiplayer, look, I find it enjoyable, but at the same time, I don't find it particularly special or innovative. It seems fairly derivative, and I had hoped to play something a little bit more ingenious. But look, the single player element has still yet to be released, and probably won't be until the game actually releases later this year. So I can cross my fingers and hope that something special jumps out. And judging by the footage that's been on offer, there is the very strong possibility that this will exist. So thanks for listening. This has been James with games.on.net, and enjoy the rest of the video.
Lost a car.
Ah. 0-6. How did the guy that got 12 kills come second? Yeah, it's you did more driving.